Nice to see you, lad. Thanks for joining us.
Nice to meet you, lad.
March 29th. We're glad to have everybody with us. I'm Robert Theobald, Small Business Ombudsman and Vice President of Small Business Services at the Arizona Commerce Authority. And if you haven't been with us before, we like to start these off by thanking our community partners. We could not do these boot camp sessions without their time, their effort, and their expertise. We appreciate their support very much, and we'd like to recognize them. This is just a sample, these 2 slides of all the community partners. We have about 140 different community partners that have helped with the boot camps. So for those not familiar, the Small Business Boot Camp is a webinar series that we do every Tuesday at 9 a.m. and it is designed to help small businesses prepare, plan, and grow for the future. It is a statewide initiative supported by all those community partners. And again, not only is it the webinar every Tuesday, it is a content library, and then it is also a workshop series that we've added to the program. So we'll talk about the content library, and then I'll talk about the workshops as well a little bit later on in this intro. So the content library is a fantastic piece that has come from the bootcamp webinar series. Over the last 2 years, we recorded nearly or over 200 sessions of our boot camps and have those posted on our websites for you to view at any time. So you have 200 recorded expert webinars available at no cost. You can share them, you can watch parts of them, you can download the slide decks. It's a great resource. We updated that website this year with a way to sort through by the 7 different business topics, so you can find the webinars that help fit those. So it is a great tool for you and available to everyone. As I mentioned, we're going to talk about the webinar series or the workshop series. We also added a workshop series to the webinars. In 2021, if you're familiar, we did the boot camp webinars every Tuesday and Thursday, and we changed that for 2022 to where we're just doing every Tuesday morning. With that, once a month or so, we're going to do a workshop with one of our community partners. And for this month, for March, we have partnered with the Department of Revenue and are doing a workshop on business taxes as we are in tax season. And that workshop is actually this Thursday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Here digitally on the boot camp. So I will share more information about that here in a little bit. Some other programs we like to share with everybody are the ACA's programs that help support small business. We have our small business services, our workforce division, and our Arizona MEP, our manufacturing extension partnerships. All these programs are to help small businesses continue to grow and expand and support you in those different areas. So if you have questions about those, please reach out to us so we can get you more details. Also, to help the entrepreneurs out there, we have our small business checklist. And this is an online interactive checklist program that we've set up that helps entrepreneurs and business owners identify the commonly requested licensing, registration, and compliance needs at the local, state, and federal levels. You can find other business information on there as well. It is a great resource. As many of you may know, that in Arizona, some places require business license and some don't, and this checklist can help you identify who does and who doesn't in what communities. Also, for a quick, less detailed approach, if you're just looking for some general guidance on different areas, we have, as you see on the screen there in the lower right-hand corner, you see Sally, our virtual assistant. You can go on to the checklist and chat with our virtual assistant, Sally, and get some of that basic information from the checklist through her. So great tools available to you. I want to transition now and talk about some small business updates. The SBA, if you have an EIDL, an economic injury disaster loan, the SBA has extended the EIDL deferment period. When the EIDL program started, if you got a loan, the repayment deferment period was a certain period, and they've extended that a little bit longer to make sure small businesses are prepared to and in a good place to start making a repayment on that loan. We also want to mention the Small Business Digital Academy. I've got more information on that coming up. We're going to post information on all this also in the chat, so be aware of that. The Dream Big Awards, this is a national awards program by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and we're going to post the link to that. You can apply for a number of the different awards there. And then Phoenix Biz Grants is still available for those businesses in Phoenix. That program is still active. There's still some funding available, so take a look at it. So with that, I want to talk about the Small Business Digital Academy. This is a 6-week program. It is a class style program, and there will be anywhere from 30 to 50 participants in this class, and it meets for 6 weeks. We meet every Monday. It's virtual as well, so it's kind of a hybrid structure. On Mondays, a virtual session, then there's some at-home learning, and then on Friday there's a open office hour, we call it, an open session to ask questions about that week's topics. But it's designed to help small businesses scale their online presence and build their digital capacity. Applications for this are open. We'll post this link to the website in the chat, so if you're interested in that program, you can go in and apply for it. A key note is it does require about 4 to 6 hours a week time commitment to take the most of this program. It's not just a once on Monday webinar to watch. It does require some time and effort in 4 to 6 hours a week to get the most out of it. So just be aware of that. But if it's something that you're interested in, take a look at the website, and then from there you can apply. The application closes on April 8th, and we'll be starting a few weeks after that with the cohort. So with that, let's look at some of our upcoming sessions. Again, Thursday, we have our workshop with the Department of Revenue, the Arizona Department of Revenue, focusing on transaction business taxes, transaction privilege tax for small business classifications. We'll talk about tax compliance, payment deadlines, tax rates, filing requirements, and more. We've got the experts from the education arm of the Department of Revenue who are going to join us and share that information. So we're really excited about it. And then the following 2 weeks, we've got the Foundations of Marketing next Tuesday. And then the Tuesday after that, Marketing to the Right Customer. And then on April 19th, How to Build and Monitor Your Business Credit Score. So we've got some great sessions coming up, and we hope you can join us for them. And with that, we're going to go ahead and jump into today's sessions. We've got a new speaker today, Lad McKinday with Co Media. He's one of the co-founders. We're really excited to have Lad with us. I was taking a look at his slide deck, and I am extremely excited for today's presentation. It's a new topic we haven't touched on before, but it's an extremely relevant topic. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. And Lad, I'm going to turn the time over to you.
All right. Let me share my screen here. All right. I wish I could hear everybody. Hope everybody's doing well this morning. I'm excited to share. Thank you, Robert, Faith, and the rest of the team at AZ Commerce Authority. I think this is really awesome. The topic we're diving into today is one that I think is arguably the most popular topic right now in marketing. And I think it is, in my opinion, the best tool for small to medium-sized businesses to leverage. And I think there's a lot of misunderstanding around it and what it is. And I'm going to try to address all those things and go quickly as possible. At the end of this, we'll open up for some questions, but there's a lot of information and trying to pack that all into 30 to 40 minutes here. So we're going to get started right away on this. So influencer marketing, what is influencer marketing? I'm sure at this point, everybody has heard about influencer marketing, the term influencer marketing. There's a lot of different, if you Google that or search that out, there's going to be a lot of different opinions on what that is. I've kind of combined a few things and come up with my definition of what I feel influencer marketing is. And I would say that influencer marketing, in summation, is a marketing strategy that utilizes key online voices to drive messaging to desired audiences. Now, this is a very specific definition, and I don't want to spend too much time on it, but it's there's a few things that I want you to note. Number one is it utilizes key online voices. And I think that's important because when people think of influencer marketing, a lot of times they think of social media. They think of young people. They think of fashion brands or things that are considered more visual, sexier kind of industries. But that's not necessarily the only avenue for influencer marketing. So I like the idea of key online voices. A key online voice could be in any industry, and I'll talk about that later on. But that's the thing to understand. I think a lot of people, especially business owners or business leaders and executives, small business people, we kind of look at it like, it's not for me. There's nobody, I'm not selling clothes, I'm not selling makeup, I'm not selling whatever the hot items are, fitness, whatever it may be. But I think that's just kind of where the strategy kind of grew, but it's way further along now than just those segments. So that part is very important. The second part of that is driving messaging to desired audiences. I think this is the kind of the key thing about influencer marketing that separates it from a lot of other strategies, is that it's a great way to get your messaging and something that you want to get to your customers to specific niche audiences better than a lot of other marketing tools can do for you. And we'll get into that as well. So just to set some context here on kind of the state of social media, there's a lot of stuff in here. We're not going to go through all of it. This will all be available to you afterwards anyways. But we know at this point, social media is arrived. Everybody's on it. Everybody's on one platform or another. Ironically, when I started my marketing career 15 years ago, I know I look young, but 15 years ago, I started, I was thrown into social media at the agency that hired me. It was right when the market crashed. It was 2007, 2008. And I actually hated social media. I knew nothing about it. I was just young, and they assumed, you're young, you must know about this. And I remember during that time, everything was like, this is the future, this is the future, this is the future. And that was kind of what every seminar I went to, every event, remember those seminars in person, everything was about social media. And it's interesting to see now how it has completely changed the way we do business. It has opened up so many doors for small businesses and avenues that otherwise would not have existed. A few things I want to touch on. Facebook, obviously, is the world's largest social media network with over 2.8 billion active users I think that's daily, which is insane. Facebook, obviously, the demographics have changed a little bit, but it's still a very viable platform, especially for small businesses. Groups are big on Facebook. I've seen that a lot in the last 5 to 6 years, where groups that you can now segment and kind of have topics built around are much bigger on Facebook. Instagram, we all know Instagram, a very visual platform. One of the things to note there is the 100 million users launch or watch live videos on Instagram every day, which is insane, but very true. Twitter is still there. Twitter is one of those platforms that I wouldn't, of all the influencer platforms, it's viable, but Twitter is kind of quick news sources, quip, stuff like that. It's not the best platform for influencer marketing, but I have seen some companies do some really good things with that on Twitter. Again, just going through and kind of laying the context. YouTube, the largest social network for ages 18 to 24. That stat right there to the right, you see on mobile devices alone, YouTube reaches more adults ages 18 to 24 than any TV network. I had a meeting with a company a few weeks ago, and their demographic is in this range. And we did kind of like a think tank group, and kids don't even know what network television is these days. It kind of blew me away. They don't watch anything on network TV. They're on YouTube for pretty much everything. On YouTube to learn things, on YouTube to get entertainment. They use YouTube in ways that I never even thought about. So it's very interesting. And there are a lot of influencers on YouTube. YouTubers watch over 1 billion plus hours of content every day. I don't know if there's a problem there, but that's not for me to decide. LinkedIn, this is a great one. I think LinkedIn is one of the best, especially for businesses that are industries that wouldn't be considered quite as visual, software as a services, finance, things of that nature. LinkedIn is kind of a gold mine. And I think a lot of people are kind of waking up to that. You see a lot, LinkedIn itself is tapping into it. They've got their creator options now for people that want to create content and talk about business related topics. A lot of opportunities on LinkedIn. These two, TikTok, most of us, I don't know who's actually here in our age ranges. I'm assuming that we're all of a certain age, but TikTok is obviously one of the fastest growing social media networks. It's kind of where a lot of people think about when they think of influencer marketing. I don't, because I know that it's much bigger than that. But yes, this is a platform that has given almost a new career path to people, especially young adults, young kids, teenagers, and so forth that are going on TikTok and getting millions of followers, and brands reach out to them, and then they change their entire lives. But TikTok is a good platform to be aware of. I'm of the mind that you don't have to be on every platform. So I don't want people to get overwhelmed, like I need to be on every platform. You have to look at your business and know your target audience, and we'll get into that later. But it's just to be aware. Obviously, we know TikTok is there. I have an account. I'm never on there, but we've looked at doing different things on TikTok. And I do think it's, when there's that many people on a platform, it's worth looking at and seeing if it fits your business. That's the key thing. Pinterest, I put this on there because I think a lot of people forget about Pinterest. Been around for a while. Pinterest is one of these social media platforms that's actually fully engaged in influencer marketing. They actually have a program. They call it Pinterest Creators, but it's basically just influencers, where influencers, online content creators sign up, and you actually work with Pinterest to get matched to certain content creators that fit your business. They have a whole thing about, they've gone all in that. I can dive more into that later, but just to be aware. So Pinterest is definitely still a thing, and it actually has some of the most active users of all social media platforms, as you can see there. All right, let's get into kind of meat of this. What is all the big fuss about influencer marketing? We hear about it all the time, influencer marketing, every article. These are just some numbers to kind of paint the landscape right now. We've got influencer marketing is one of the fastest growing sectors of marketing. So since 2016, it's grown from a market share of 1.7 billion to 13.8, about 14 billion as of last year. The number of influencer marketing related service companies grew over 26%, now totaling over 18,000 worldwide. And I've seen this firsthand happen. I remember, 10 years ago, influencer marketing wasn't really a thing. And now I probably get messaged daily, 5, 6, 7 companies that offer influencer marketing related services to companies. So it's definitely become a very, very viable and lucrative marketing avenue. One of the reasons I think that is true is because of this next point. One of the top forms of digital marketing in terms of return on investment. This was a stat taken from Influencer Marketing Hub. For every dollar spent on influencer marketing, brands earn up to $5.78 return. I mean, that sounds amazing. You got a caveat there. That's not obviously going to be the case for everybody, but that was a general numbers that they saw over the course of a year and doing research on that. 91% of marketers believe that influencer marketing is an effective form of marketing. So now there's wide adoption, and everybody is kind of trying to figure out a way to leverage it. So it is here. It is not something that can be put to the side. That's the big point here. Influencer marketing is here. Now we need to know, how can we leverage that in our businesses? This is just more graphs to show the growth. I won't stay too much on this, but you can see, obviously, it continues to grow. It's anticipated that in the next 5 years, it's going to be well over a $30 billion marketing industry. You got to excuse my voice, I was telling the people here, I've been having a little head cold, so I feel like I sound like Kermit the Frog, but that's all That's a personal problem. Again, the platforms. Let me move this out of the way. You guys can see this. This is just channel utilization from 2020 versus 2021. Just kind of get a glimpse of the different channels and how they're being used for influencer marketing. And again, I don't want you to get caught up in channels and having to be on channels. The big thing is understanding your audience, your demographics, and then approaching things from there. And we'll get into that now. What is an influencer? This is important because I think, again, when people think about influencers, they're thinking about TikTok dancing and fashion brands and fitness brands and things of that nature. And those things are true. A lot of influencers, the industry kind of was built on the back of some of those industries, but it's a lot more than just that. I define it as this. Influencer Marketing Hub, I think, has the best definition. You can find a lot of definitions online, but this is the one that I think is most accurate. The power to affect the purchasing decisions of others because of their authority, knowledge, position, or relationship with an actively engaged audience, typically within a distinct niche. And that last part is the most important thing. And I think that is the power of influencer marketing, is the ability to really target a distinct group of individuals and an audience that is engaged. We know they're engaged because they will already have an established relationship with said influencer. And so we're leveraging that relationship to create a further dynamic with our business. And as you know, that is across industry. So I have a phrase that I like to say: as long as someone could be an expert in a topic, then there's an opportunity for influencer marketing within that segment. The types of influencers. So some of you may have heard of this, some of you may not have heard of these, but there are 4 types. Some people will just put these into 2, micro and macro, but I like the 4, and I'll tell you why in a little bit, and we'll explain all of these. Nano influencers would be those considered to have a following base between 1 and 10,000 followers and subscribers. These individuals, and I think, let me take a back step here. To me, this group and the micro influencers are the most viable and important group, especially when we're talking about small to medium-sized businesses. I believe that because they're generally relatable. They're not all of them are professional, quote unquote, influencers. They're those that will be open to trade. Their costs will not be as exorbitant as other influencers. And that's another thing that I think will surprise a lot of people. A lot of these influencers that are working with bigger brands they're making quite a lot of money, and their demand and their asks are very high. But nano influencers, they tend to just be people that have kind of organically gained some type of following. A lot of their followers and subscribers are friends and family or people that they know, which means that they have a lot more trust and authenticity, which always converts to higher conversion rate. This is huge. If you're a business that is looking to make the best bang for your buck, you're not just wanting to cast a wide net. If you find an influencer within this range that is specific to your demographic you're trying to reach, it makes a lot of sense. I've seen a lot of success with these, as opposed to working with a larger influencer with a lot more of a following. A stat that I think is I didn't put it on here, but I want to share, according to Social Media Today, so 60%, they did a survey, 60% of respondents still indicate that reviews from friends and family is the #1 reason they purchase something. That's above 25% for influencers. So this group right here has, while they may not have as many followers and subscribers, their purchasing power and influence, I would argue, is as great or greater than some of the larger influencers. So this is when I'm looking at and talking to small to medium-sized businesses, This is the area, this is kind of the sweet spot that we want to get into. We want to find influencers within this range, obviously within our demographic that we're trying to reach, and engage them that way. Micro influencers, a little bit larger than our nano influencers. We're looking at about 10 to 100,000. And I know that seems like a lot of people, but in the world of social media and online engagement and content, it's really not. These people are still very accessible, far more accessible than someone that, say, has over 1 million followers. They still have the authenticity going for them and higher engagement than you would have when you have someone that has over 1 million followers. Kind of the trend is the higher the follower count is, the lower the engagement is going to be. There's just the way the algorithms work on platforms, your engagement is not going to be as high. Specialized interest in niche markets is very big for these micro influencers. And a lot of them in this range love to engage in ambassador opportunities. What do I mean by ambassador opportunities? Ambassador opportunities are opportunities to take it further than just one-offs, further than just a simple campaign. We're looking at things like long-term relationships with influencers, long-term relationships to help brand build. It would be more akin to like endorsements back in the day when, remember TV and all that kind of stuff. It would be more similar to that kind of relationship. I've seen a lot of success for businesses at that level with ambassadors who then they love a brand and then they take it to the next level, and then you're getting free content, you're getting a bunch of stuff above and beyond whatever your initial agreement is. So I would say this group, for a lot of businesses that are not mom and pop, but kind of in that middle range, this is a great group to target and look at. The macro influencers, those considered 100,000 to 1 million. These broad appeal for sure. A lot of industries you'll find this in, fitness industries, some of the more visual industries is where you'll get a lot of these macro influencers. They're great for bringing awareness and eyeballs, not necessarily great for if you want a direct call to action or stuff like that, or trying to build actual niche relationships, but they're great for reputability, for association, and to increase your general engagement online on social media. What do I mean by that? So Instagram, for example, released, I think it was a few months ago, I don't remember at this point, this kind of sharing mechanism where if you share something on your page, but if another page that has more followers shares it first, and you both share the same content, it'll be posted on both of your pages. Kind of the trick behind that is you have to make sure that the page that has more followers, in this case, the macro influencer, would share that piece of content first. And then if you share it after that, that would get all the engagement that goes to their post would go to your post. It's just one of the ways now platforms are trying to build into this whole influencer kind of culture that we're in. So macro influencers are great for that. I would not suggest macro influencers for more targeted, direct niche approaches. It's more of a broad brush, but still good depending on what your goals are. And obviously now we have mega influencers. That's going to be your 1 million plus followers, subscribers. These are essentially celebrities at this point as well, fall under that category. I want you to think of traditional media kind of commercials. When you run a commercial, you pay for a Super Bowl ad. You're just looking to get broad brand awareness. You're not necessarily looking to get direct call to actions or have people go to a specific lane. You're just looking to get a lot of eyeballs on something. Typically, you're going to need a very large budget. And I think some of the budgets would surprise a lot of people for these influencers that aren't necessarily celebrities, but they have just a lot of followers and subscribers. It gets up there in price. The times that I think stuff like this is appropriate is if you're trying to expand to like a national campaign. You want to do something, again, think of traditional media, commercials, billboards. You're trying to expand beyond your city, state, your business is growing. You want to get more of a national audience. This is when a mega influencer would come into play. Okay, so it's a lot of information I know that I'm throwing out here. So where do I start? I'm hearing all these terms. I don't know the first thing about where do I go? What do I do? How do I even get in touch with an influencer? And I'm with you there because when this all started becoming a thing, that was, for a lot of the companies that I work with, it was a lot of the same thoughts. Where do we start? Where do we begin? I think it's marketing 101. That's the beauty of this. While influencer marketing sounds all cool and sexy, and there's a lot of things going on, people are doing their TikTok dances or whatever, the basis of it is still the same. It's still marketing. And the way you would do any campaign is the same way you would do an influencer marketing campaign. So number one, define your goals. And this is huge. I think the companies that I've worked with have had issues with influencer marketing is because they don't have clearly defined goals. They don't have kind of a very obvious thing that they want to and clearly articulated thing that they want to do. And this affects the relationship with influencers. You have to understand that people that are online making content, they're doing it because they essentially want to make money. Let's be honest. And so the more that you can have what you're trying to accomplish very detailed, the better that your relationship is going to be when you reach out to influencers. Influencers are very savvy. They're going to ask a lot of questions. They're going to want to have a good relationship because they want to get repeat business. They want to work with a lot of brands. So they want to make you happy. If you kind of leave it to them, oh, I don't know, you just do what you do. That's when I've seen a lot of mistakes happen. That's when I see a lot of bad experiences with influencer marketing, is when the goals are not defined clearly. So kind of refining what I just said, or reiterating what I just said, have a clear, concise goals. These aren't all the kind of, obviously, the goals that you can have, but I just listed some of the things to be aware of. Are you trying to generate brand awareness? Are you trying to generate sales? Are you trying to build loyalty? Are you trying to increase web traffic? Are you launching a new product? Do you have a new service? Are you simply looking for consumer feedback? If you know this, and you approach your influencer with all this laid out, exactly what you're trying to accomplish, then you're going to be able to create a better campaign, a better relationship that's going to help you reach those goals. Number two, equally as important, know your audience. I'll say like this: if you want to engage in influencer marketing and you do not know your audience, you're wasting your time. You're better off just running some ads, some PPC ads, doing some campaigns like that. You got to know your audience. Even then, you need to know your audience. But with influencer marketing, you really need to know your audience. And it can be tricky because I think a lot of people get caught up in the influencer and their engagement in what they're doing. But what you really need to know is your audience, and your audience will direct you to the influencer, the type of influencer that you need for your campaign. If you don't know your audience, or if you're trying to hit too many audiences at one time, things are going to get convoluted, and you're going to have, at the end of the day, just a very unsuccessful experience with influencer marketing. So knowing your audience. I kind of lay this out as your demographics. What platforms and mediums do they use? What are their online habits? What are their spending habits? Where are they located? This is all going to play a part in the influencer you decide to approach. And this should actually dictate the influencer that you end up approaching. Again, we're going to have questions at the end, so I'm trying to get through all this to leave a lot of time for questions. Number three, create a segment of create a segmented list, of influencers. So once you've done number one and number two, this is the next step. You have to create a list, a segmented list of the different kind of influencers based on the information you gained in steps 1 and step 2. Some of the things to look at when you've now decided what your audience is. How many followers and subscribers does this influencer have? Who is their target audience? What platforms and mediums are they on? That's a big one. How engaged is that audience? I would utilize social listening tools. And what do I mean by social listening tools? So every single platform, there's two ways to look at this. Every single platform has some type of hashtag search mechanism. I'll give you an example personally for us. Recently with one of the brands we're working with, we need to find people who are adventurers, who people like to hike, camp, so forth and so on. One of the things that we did, so we go on Instagram and we search for the hashtag, and we need them to be located in Arizona. So we search the hashtag Sonoran Desert. We see who comes up on Sonoran Desert. We start making a small little high-level list of people that come on Sonoran Desert. Then we segment that down further. We might search some other terms, desert dweller, hiker, Arizona hiker, things of that nature. And we start creating a list in just regular, good old Excel, good old trusty Excel, and breaking it down. Now there are some companies who actually do this, and there's a slide at the end. I'll show some of the companies that will actually help you. Some pretty decent pricing options as well to create tools or lists of influencers. And they essentially do the same thing. They just kind of package it nicely for you, and you search terms that you want, and then you get a list of influencers that fit the criteria. But this is very important to create a list first before you start reaching out, and kind of have your top 3 to 5, and then start your process of reaching out to them. Which leads me to the next slide. It's like almost like I made this thing. Strategically contact influencers. This is huge as well. And I think this is where some people kind of get, if they've done everything right to this point, this one can be kind of weird. How do I talk to, do I DM them? Do I email them? I found that the best way is you have to I hate using the word stalk, but you kind of have to do your homework a little bit and see how that influencer interacts on the platforms that they're on. I'll give an example of that. Some influencers are going to be heavy on social media. They're going to respond to comments. They're going to respond to DMs. But what's happened in the recent years, if you've been on social media at all, you realize there's a lot of spammy accounts. You're on Instagram for 2 seconds, you're going to get someone in your inbox talking about follow this brand and do this and do this. So people have learned, our brains kind of operate that way, to just tune out. So I would not recommend DMing people. It's not 100% don't DM people, because I've had some success there, but people are just so used to ignoring those, especially from brands, that I find the best medium is either to email or to find out if the influencer themselves has a way that they've suggested for you to contact them. And that's always the fail safe, do that way to start off. If there's not, then I would do more research and kind of find a way. If you do end up DMing someone, which is not the worst thing in the world, I think it's best to be as authentic and to personalize your approach, mostly because, again, people are getting messages, spammy messages all the time. People get spammy comments all the time. We were kind of learning to just tune everything out. How you approach that, the tone that you approach that in, I think influencers like things to be a collaboration. I would go as far as to say some of them take themselves too seriously, but that's a different conversation for a different webinar. But you have to be open. Doesn't matter if you're the one running a business and you may not think, what are they doing? They're just online. You have to be open and encourage collaboration. And again, be clear with your deliverables, your timeline, your measurables. These people are essentially running individual businesses where they're probably fielding a lot of different things from a lot of companies and hustling and doing all that. So the more organized and the more professional it seems to them, the better your options are going to be. And this is big. I've seen, it may seem like that's not that serious, but I've seen so many people get to this step and things kind of fall off the rails and they don't end up getting the kind of relationship that they want and the influencers that they want to work with. They kind of give up on the whole thing in general. Excuse me, taking a. All right, number 5. Once you've done all those things, and you have a campaign that you've set up, everything, you're ready to rock and roll, you're doing it. This is also crucial to keep the communication open, measure, refine, and remix. It's kind of how I break that down. And this is just an ongoing thing throughout your campaign. And the key thing with this is keeping the influencers in the loop. I've realized influencers, people that create content online, they want to be involved in the process. They want to be taken seriously. They want to bring value because that's how they make money. They want to bring you value. And so they want to make sure they're doing the right thing for you. One of the easiest ways is just to keep them involved in the conversation, let them be a part of it so they feel like they're actually giving you value, which is going to obviously make you want to do business with them again, which is what they want. Integrating a cross-platform approach, to me, this is where you get the best bang for your buck. If you're running a campaign on Instagram, this is just cyclical marketing. We all know this. This isn't necessarily just influencer related, but I think it's important when you're dealing with influencers to look at it not just as, oh, we're doing this promotion or we're doing this campaign or we're doing whatever with an influencer. We need to integrate this, what we're doing across our platforms that are applicable, whether that's email, marketing, whether we have a podcast, whether we have other platforms that the influencer is not on. We need to integrate a cross-platform approach to get the most bang for our buck. Again, utilizing third-party tools to see what is actually happening. If we're doing something in marketing and we're not measuring, then we're not doing anything at all, in my opinion. And then following up. If our campaign is geared at getting emails, people to go to a landing page and sign up for something, we need to follow up with those people. We need to refine and see what worked and what didn't work. Marketing 101 right there. But I think the key thing in all of this is to keep contact with influencers, to seek their feedback, to see what their followers and their subscribers are saying and doing, and keep in step with that to maximize your campaigns. Okay, so I said earlier, some tools and services. I've used, I think, almost all of these, not all of them for sure, but I've used, I think, 75%. And there's, again, you guys will get this at the end, so you can click on the links and check them out. Some of these companies have literally popped up in the last 3, 4, 5 years. Influence is one that literally is a platform where you can search hashtags and find influencers within a specific hashtag, a specific topic. Social Stance is a company that does influencer centric campaigns online. A few of others do similar things like Thought Leaders and Grin. But these are just tools for you guys to be able to look and see where you fit into that. And there's nothing wrong with good old fashioned Excel. When we first started doing a lot of influencer stuff 4 or 5 years ago, we used Excel a lot. We still do. Honestly, I prefer it sometimes because I kind of have an understanding at this point of what I'm looking for. But these tools are nice too. We've worked with some of these companies. If you're trying to just kind of get out of, skip a few steps and just let them handle some things. But I will say some of them are pricey, some not as much, some have free, all these have free offerings, but tread on your own jurisdiction there. This is just a phrase that I like, and I said this earlier, that's what I was referring to. Any topic in which individuals can have expertise will have an influencer market. And I say this again, just to reiterate that it's not about all those industries that we would deem sexy or cool or visual. Recently on LinkedIn, especially alluding back to that, I've been seeing a lot of people talking about topics that aren't necessarily like would be considered the hot button social media topics, but they've been getting traction. One of the big ones I've seen a lot is real estate investment, real estate banking. Crypto would fall into that. I've seen a lot of that recently. NFTs, individuals with that expertise. And you would never think, but I've seen those pages even on Instagram just blowing up. People talking about stocks, day trading, all that financial market. Any topic that individuals can have expertise will have an influencer market, which means you'll have an engaged audience, which means you can run campaigns and target them specifically with an influencer. All right, I kind of breezed through that as quickly as I could. I'm opening up to you guys for questions. I may or may not have an answer. I'm not a guru, but we will try our best to answer your questions. And yeah.
All right, thanks, Lad. So for all the questions, please post the questions in the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. And we have a good one in there right now. It says, are influencers better for B2C versus B2B target markets? Are there specific influencers focused on targeting B2B markets?
It's a great question, Elaine. Thank you for the question. I don't know if it's a matter of being better or not. I think within within the demographics or the things that you're looking for, that's what you have to look at. It's not necessarily if one is better than the other. We've done both with clients that we have. I actually think there's a lot of room for B2B, as I just mentioned, on LinkedIn and different platforms like that, even on YouTube. We did something recently. We're trying to get one of our clients to be in front of more on trade shows and also more retail clients. It's all B2B related. We're working with several influencers that are big in the space that they want to be in to kind of push that messaging across. So I wouldn't say it's one better than the other. I think obviously B2C kind of came first and it was a more natural fit, but there's a lot of opportunities in B2B. I know that seems like a vague answer, but that's the best, the way I could put it for you.
Excellent. And we have another one from Dawn that says, can you suggest items to collaborate on?
Items. What do you mean by items to collaborate on? Can she see that? I want to respond. You mean like products or services or what? What?
That would be my guess, is features
of a product. Okay, thank you, Don. Sorry about that. Again, I think this is very specific to your business. And I think this is where a lot of the traditional marketing practices don't go away. Influencer marketing is just another tool, another marketing tool for us to use as business owners, business leaders, marketers. But I'll give you a real life example that hopefully will help answer this question for you. We've got a client that is releasing a new product, and they specifically want to get it to a very specific demographic of people. So what we've done and what we're doing is finding that demographic online, seeing who speaks to that demographic, reaching out to them, and then giving them the product to try with very specific things that we want them to know about the product. We want them to give us reviews on that product for those very specific things, those to what you're talking about, features. And then we want them to share that with their audiences of those features and why those features matter. And we're hoping from that, their followers will understand that we'll basically be getting our message out without having to do some of the more traditional things. And people will start to understand the product once we release it. They already kind of know the benefit of the product, if that answers your question. Matthew says, how are influencers paid and how much, specifically for B2B software as a service style companies? You're welcome, Don. This is all over the board, how much they're paid. I can't speak for every influencer, but I will tell you, it surprised me. It's gone up for sure. Initially, 5-6 years ago, we're doing this. I don't think people knew the value of it. So it was like, you could do a lot of trade, give someone a free trial. We worked with a camping service. They were doing that free trial of our camping service app that they had. Now it's changed. People kind of know the value. They kind of know what other people are getting paid online. So it's literally person by person, case by case. I think the best thing for businesses is to know what you're trying to accomplish and to have a good idea of that, as opposed to the influencer and what that means to you in terms of ROI, in terms of what each sale is worth to you. Software as a service style companies, one of the things I've seen that's worked a lot is giving people free trials, letting people use something. Now, that may not make sense for you, but that's the thing, especially for something like that, people have to kind of get their feet wet in something like that, especially in B2B, so then they can become champions of it. We work with some companies in real estate that are doing some pretty cool things technology-wise, and we've done those strategies, exactly what you're talking about, for them. What is a fair market rate to pay an influencer in the Nano category? A lot of the questions are about money, and I can't speak. I don't want to steer you wrong and tell you like, hey, this guy told me on a webinar that it would cost this much. It really depends. I'm being so honest. It really depends on the influencer. I would say, honestly, in the nano market, I would always go with trade first. I would approach with trade and then negotiate. I think the best way is to negotiate, is come into with an open mind. You should have your end, like your top range you're willing to spend, and then negotiate. You can start with, we like to do trade, and they will usually be open to that conversation because these people are having these conversations all the time, and they'll kind of steer its way. And the worst thing to do is just kind of try to strong arm the situation or have it idea. I think it's a collaborative process is the best way to approach that. Do you have any tips on trying to determine a fair price when working with influencers? Have I answered all this question? Don, did I skip one for you? Can you suggest items to collaborate on? I don't know if I answered that one already.
Yeah, we did. We got that one.
Okay, I did. Okay, cool. Do you have any tips on trying to determine a fair price when working with influencers? Best practice. That's a good question, Brian. I kind of alluded to that already, but I really do think it is a collaborative process. You have to go in with the mentality of, we're both trying to help each other out. We don't want to, screw you over and vice versa. We want this to be a beneficial thing. And I also think it helps to always be open to a longer term thing. If you can articulate that to someone that's a content creator that, hey, we're looking for this to be something that we can be ongoing. One of the things that's very appealing to influencers is that kind of approach, because it's a very sporadic and chaotic business for them. A lot of one-offs, random things. If they say, hey, I know I'm going to have this thing for the next 6 months, that might be the thing that makes them want to work with you. We do that all the time, actually. In fact, I'll give you a little insider secret for myself that works. I always approach influencers with that as my number one thing. We're looking to do this over the next course of X amount of time, Q1, the next 3 months, the next 6 months, whatever it is. And that always kind of eases attention because they want a consistent source of income to be coming in. So that's a big deal. I hope that answers your question, Brian. It's a good question too.
And Lad, another way to look at this might be almost like, essentially, it's a sponsorship, right? You're sponsoring that influencer. You might be giving them some products. So you mentioned the camping. There might be a gear manufacturer that's going to say, hey, you know what? We'll give you this tent. Go use it. Go try it.
Right.
And share your feedback. And it costs them.
It's a great point, Robert. And so one of the things, I didn't get into it in this one because I didn't want to confuse anybody, but so some people have segmented influencer marketing from brand ambassadorship, which is kind of what you're getting into. I do not segment those two things. I think it's just a matter of the relationship that each company has and the length of time. I don't think it's worth segmenting them because ultimately they're doing the same thing. If you go to some content creators pages, you'll see like ambassador to, Hydro Flask or ambassador to, whatever company it is. It's the same thing. They're essentially using their platform to help promote a brand. They're influencers, but those are more long-term type relationships. And I think they're the ones that a lot of influencers tend to gravitate towards because it's guaranteed. Not everybody can do that though. So I understand that, but it's something to keep in mind. Ambassadorship, if you can have programs like that or think through it like that, I think is always a good way to go because it also builds trust and it makes it feel authentic. If you're dealing with somebody who's promoting different product every week or different service, it doesn't feel as authentic as someone that's like, oh, I actually have a relationship with and I like this brand a lot and I stand by it. Sky says, where have you seen the most effective places for professional service to advertise something like a free business analysis, and what level of influencer expert was integrated? Great question. LinkedIn's big. I know some brands that are kind of in that, moving from mom and pop startup to pretty viable and growing, and they've done it all through LinkedIn. And they're B2B software as a service companies. LinkedIn is huge. LinkedIn has also baked that into their platform. Now they want people to be content creators on the platform. People generally feel comfortable with things that are on LinkedIn. People generally feel like it's more reputable than if they see something on another platform like TikTok or whatever. I'm talking about the age range of people that I'm assuming own a business and that are wanting to, disseminate content in that way. So yeah, LinkedIn is huge for that. I'd also say this goes back to my thought process on creating more of a cyclical marketing approach, which we would typically do anyways in this Web 2.0, almost Web 3 era, is to have a landing page. Companies that do a great job of this, HubSpot does a fantastic job of that. They're always getting you with something on LinkedIn or something on another platform, driving you to landing page, giving you a free PDF on this, on that, having you sign up. They do it constantly. They remix that constantly. So that's where I would say something like a free business analysis you're talking about screams LinkedIn, also a landing page kind of set up to get, I'm assuming you want to get people to sign up, and so you have their emails and all that kind of stuff. And yes, that's how you saw this presentation. So it's good.
Excellent. Those are some great questions, everybody. Thank you for asking those and participating. We have a couple minutes left, but there's no problem on wrapping up early. Give a few minutes back to everybody to do what you got to do before the next meeting or next Zoom that you might be on. So Lad, thank you. Great presentation. Great topic. Tons of information. Just a reminder, everybody, this is being recorded. It will be posted on our website, hopefully later today, if not tomorrow morning, along with Lad's slide deck, so you can go back and review it if you need to. I'm definitely going to go back and review it. There's so much information I got to check it out again, but hope you can too. With that, Lad, do you have any closing comments?
Yeah, I just thank you guys, everybody at Arizona Commerce Authority. I think this is awesome. And the big thing, honestly, with influencer marketing, I would say, is just start small. Just start. I wouldn't try to boil the ocean. Just start small, the small campaign, something that you want to accomplish and get your feet wet with it. Like I said, for us, I was telling this to Robert before we started, this is probably the marketing tool we're using the most this year. We've cut out a lot of different things that we used to do, and we're doing this the most because it just seems like a way for us to really get niche audiences engaged better than anything we've seen in the past. And it's kind of evens the playing field in a lot of ways. So I would just say, get your feet wet, try things, and then build as you get more comfortable with it.
Excellent. Thank you, Lad. And with that, we will go ahead and wrap up. We hope to see you on Thursday for our workshop. And if not on Thursday, on next Tuesday for our next boot camp session. Until then, everybody have a great week. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.